Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News. We are a podcast that talks about comic books, movies, TV shows, and we typically feature a beer of the week. My name is Matt. With me is Lauren, and we are going to be joined by a special guest today, Charlie, who you might have heard on our Jurassic Park episode a while back. Well, today we're going to talk about it's Shark Week, so the only thing that there is to talk about is we're going to talk about Jaws 2. Yes, Jaws 2. We are going to discuss on this fine episode today. Go ahead, if you haven't already, subscribe anywhere that you get podcasts at Hops Geek News. Go to social media anywhere, you'll find us Hops Geek News there as well. And then, of course, got a shout out to a new writing opportunity I had. I am reviewing comics over at the Nerd Initiative, so go to nerdinitiative.com, check us out, the Nerd Initiative bullpen. You can read all sorts of really cool things happening there. And then by the time this comes out, we're getting ready to release our first episode of Turn the Page, which is a comic book focused live show that we're going to be doing weekly as well, all a part of the Nerd Initiative. So check out the things that are going on over there. Enough of that. My beer this week is actually, look, Massachusetts kid. I have ties to Jaws. Jaws, of course, takes place at Cape Cod. Jaws 2 was filmed where Charlie and I were actually stationed in the Air Force together at Navarre Beach. So, I had to go with Merrimack Ales out of Merrimack, New Hampshire, or sorry, it's actually brewed in Camden, Lowell, Mass. Stay out of Lowell. Trust me, you don't want to go to Lowell. There's nothing really there except for a couple breweries such as Merrimack Ales. It is Rosie's Cafe. It is Rosie's Coffee Stout. Excuse me, American
Ooh.
Stout made with cold brewed coffee from Peak Roasters. Yeah,
Oh.
Lowell is a dumpy city, but they do have some good beers there. I bought this back when I was home, and it's a stout, so it's just been kind of sitting. It's only 6.2%, so not too heavy. Never honestly had their beer or breweries before, but they were at
Hmm.
the liquor store and figure it's a good episode because Charlie is also from Massachusetts. All sorts of craziness going on. What are you drinking?
So I have a beer lined up that's somewhat in theme, but now I want to find a coffee stout
Oh,
because
this
that
is
just sounds
really good.
fantastic. I
Really
feel
good.
like when you held it up, I felt like I could smell it. Like, I want to smell that coffee stout.
It
But I'm
tastes like a
still,
cold brew coffee. That's
oh,
exactly what this tastes like right now.
I love that. I know you don't like Guinness, but a great gateway to somebody who doesn't like Guinness is the Guinness cold brew because it tastes like
Oh,
cold brew coffee and it's, super low ABV and I could drink it in the morning. That sounds terrible. But I'm still nursing my Hulk Cult Tactical Brewing. I've already told everybody what this beer is on our recent comic book review and on Hops News, so
yes.
I'll save y'all explaining it again. But I do have another one on deck that I think is funny how I'm going to theme it, but we shall
There
see.
we go. Let's do it. Well, if you don't know what our show is about, hey, we go into some things such as what you're drinking or what we're drinking, what we've messed up on the week before, what we've been reading or watching. We dive into some news and then our main topic. So, Lauren, why don't you take us away with what we've messed up onto last week?
So last week I was drinking a michelada. I was drinking the Moss Chelada from Calusa, which is actually a pre-made michelada from a brewery in Sarasota. And I mentioned that when I make it from scratch, I'm using scratch in quotations because I use a Bloody Mary mix. I use the Mexican lager from Tripping Animals, and I called it No Mames because that's how it looks. It translates to "Are you kidding me?" But I had never known what it said phonetically. I posted it on my TikTok, and somebody was like, "Oh, by the way, you pronounce it Mames." So that is how you pronounce the
Oh,
No Mames sounding beer from Tripping Animals. It's Mames. I love when people call me out on stuff like that because, like, you don't know what you don't know. Like,
guys,
I
we
don't
love
speak
this
Spanish,
section.
so
Yeah.
I was glad somebody told me that, so I won't do it again. Like I used to call gozas ghosts, and my dad is like, well, "What are you doing? Stop calling it ghosts on Hops
You
News."
idiot.
So that is what we messed up on, or what I messed up on.
And I'm perfect. So of course I didn't mess up on anything. So let's go into what I've been reading or watching. I have read a lot. For the love of God, I've read a lot. So I
You've
read
been
Power
hitting the
Rangers.
comic books hard.
I have. Holy crap, like it's my job. Kind of is. I don't get paid. I don't get paid. Just a heads up, I don't get paid to write my reviews yet. But I did read Power Rangers Unlimited Hyperforce issue number 1. My review is up now on Nerd Initiative. Not going to bore you with that. I've also read the Night Terror series from DC Comics. Right now, I read The Flash, Satana, Green Lantern. I've read the Robin one. I think there's one more I'm forgetting. And I picked up the other ones yesterday. Haven't read those yet because New Comic Book Day was yesterday. A few days ago, by the time you read this, I've or listened to this, I've read those. However, don't sleep on this storyline. It is freaking amazing. Basically, there is a villain named Insomnia, which has kind of put the world to sleep. And so our heroes know something's wrong. They're trapped within their nightmares. And I'm not going to really spoil or go more into that, but just know it's like, it's not for kids. It's a very mature read, especially with some of the gruesome scenes that take place in some of the comics. Oh, Shazam was the other one. That's right. I knew there was one. And
I still need to watch that.
yeah. Although this Shazam Night Terror is actually the main character is Mary Marvel. So it's really good. And I wish you'd be the DCU Shazam, but that's neither here nor there. And
Maybe she will be.
yeah, it's a great series, great artwork, great writing, very captures you. Like DC Comics is really doing their comic books well as far as that goes. I've read, of course, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Meet Stranger Things. We did a review on that. You go ahead, feel free to check that out. I read Fallen Friend, The Death of Miss Marvel, which, if you don't know, Miss Marvel has recently died in the comic books. And so this is just basically a memorial book where a bunch of heroes come and they pay their respects. There's a really beautiful scene where Tony Stark even takes his Iron Man boots off in the mosque because, you know, you're supposed to. Him and Strange, he's like, Strange, I miss her, all that stuff. And Peter Parker at the end, it's his fault that she passed away.
Oh,
And he's even struggling at the end and talks to her parents as well. And he was like, at the end, it hits hard. It's, hey, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Khan, nice to meet you. My name is Peter Parker. Kamala was my hero. That's what he says. And it's really, really beautiful. It's really well done. All the heroes are grieving. Check that one out. I've also read X-Men Days of Future Past Doomsday issue #1.
oh, I
And
did grab that one. I haven't read it yet.
oh man, it opens dark. Whoa, dark. So really brutal death scenes in the first couple of pages. Really different, interesting take. It's the Doomsday, you know, the Days of Future Past storyline. And
Right.
so if you're familiar with that, you know what you're getting. However, there's a couple twists and turns here, and it sets up the bigger picture. I just recently read Moon Knight, City of the Dead, issue 1 by David Pepose, who is a past guest of ours. He kind of talked about it, and it's the first time that the Scarlet Scarab is actually in the comic books. Don't want to go into it other than, wow, David could write his ass off. And the art team that he has working with him on this comic book complements it. It's poetry. It really is on the pages. You're following Mark Spector in this specific
Okay.
storyline, and he's got to go to the city of the dead because he has to save a kid, essentially.
Mm.
And yeah, man, it is worth the pickup. It's going to be another limited run. So if you want to see Scarlet Scarab and some more things, Layla, please buy this comic book run, check it out, talk about it, because that's the only way this is going to happen. And I cannot tell you how much that you just need to read this story enough. If you like a Moon Knight, if you like a Moon Knight, if you like Moon Knight, uh,
Well, you can like
I
one
mean,
Moon
you can
Knight.
like
You can
a
like
Moon Knight. He's
multiple
one of
Moon
three,
Knights.
you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
check that out. And then, of course, I also just recently read Star Wars Rebellion issue #1. It's a little another miniature Star Wars run, whereas this issue particularly it takes place 3 to 6 days before the Battle of Endor in Return of the Jedi, where they uncover a plot of the Empire hiring a bounty hunter to kill Mon Mothma. And so that's kind of where it
Mm.
picks up on. It's there's more to come. It's basically like Mon Mothma, if you die, the rebellion dies, is what the Empire's thinking. And so going from there, don't want to give too much away. It's the art is beautiful in that as well. It's freaking crazy good. I can't recommend you read that one enough. There's just so many good comic books out right now. I could gush. And by the time we've finished with this, I have watched Barbie and Oppenheimer. So I'll leave that there at that. What are you getting up to?
So I'm still watching Narcos. So there's 3 seasons of Narcos. The first 2 are about Pablo Escobar, and then the third is about like the rise of the Cali cartel after he's died. And the only reason I'm bringing it up again is because there is a scene in like towards the end of Pablo's life in the show where he asks one of his guys that works for him basically, have you ever been to Disney World? And he's like, no. And he's like, he has a moment, and Pablo Escobar was a Disney adult, and he goes, I love Disney World. He goes, it's beautiful and it's so clean. So of course I had to Google because I'm Googling throughout. Is this accurate? Because they mix in real footage
Yeah.
with the storyline, but obviously some of the stories fabricated. Like there's one guy in the Cali cartel. I'm like, I really like this guy. I hope to God he survived. And I looked him up. He's in witness protection still. So yeah, so
Guy's a
good on
great
him.
stand-up guy. Oh, good. He's still hiding out somewhere in probably like Bakersfield,
Yes.
California.
Oh God, I hope he didn't give up his location.
Oh God.
I hope no one from the Cali cartels,
They're
so
gonna be
who's
like
still
some
alive,
some
listens to
cartel
this.
is
Yeah.
like, yeah, I was listening to Hops Geek News and they mentioned this town and I figured I'd go check it out.
And
Lo and
now we're in
behold, there he
witness
was.
protection. So I just thought that was so funny. So I Googled, has Pablo Escobar ever been at Disney? And of course, it pops up. I see a picture of him sitting on a bench at Disney, a picture of him in line on Jungle Cruise. And I found an article.
Look,
I want to
even
look
drug
more into
dealers got
this.
to have a fun time once in a while.
But
All
he did
right.
have kids, Well, and then
Fair.
at one point when they tell the kid, like they're trying to to hide somewhere, like, oh, we're going to go somewhere else. And the son's like, is there a Disney there? But they said that he brought back like suitcases of souvenirs from Disney when he went. And I was like, that is amazing. I want
Must
to
be
see
nice.
him wearing Mickey. Well, yeah, it was all the drug
He's out
money.
there. I mean, yeah, he's out there giving his people Mickey Mouse shirts. Says like, "Hey, don't snitch on me."
Yeah, this is a mouse, not a rat. Don't be a rat.
Oh yeah, you know what we don't like around here? Rats.
So I finally saw Indie. I liked it. You described it great. I thought the beginning was a little bit slow and some of the action scenes were a little drawn out. And then once he got on the boat, I felt like it turned into your cliche mystery Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm going to call you out on is much like Tim, I immediately noticed Antonio Banderas. He was the
What
guy with the cane.
frick was I doing? Where was I?
I
I
have
was
no
in this
idea.
theater. Like, what was I doing at this point in time? What? Like, what?
I don't know.
I'm
He was the
gonna
guy with
watch it
the cane,
again,
the scuba
but
diver, and he's talking about the bends with that. I mean, he was in a few
was
scenes.
what the hell was I doing? I was
He
in
was the
the
guy in
theater
the
the whole
water
time.
with them. No, still not
I
connecting.
remember the guy in the water, but I cannot for the life of me remember his face. I don't know what I was doing. I don't know where I was doing. I don't know why I was doing. Maybe it was because I don't know. I have no good answer on this one.
All right, I'm going to talk about Thrawn for a minute. I finished the first book.
Oh yeah.
I love it. I love Thrawn. I don't think he's evil. This book's changing my total perspective on him. I am currently rewatching Rebels. Rebels is like my go-to, like when I'm at home folding laundry, treadmill, whatever. I'm watching Rebels now. So I haven't caught up to
So
Thrawn
proud
yet.
of you because it used to be Supernatural.
Well, I'm waiting when you stop watching. I've been watching Supernatural with you,
That's my problem.
and you
You're right.
paused.
I need to pick back up. I finished watching that based on a true story. We don't have a show right now. You're right. I got to pick back Supernatural. I'm sorry. That's my fault.
So I was waiting for you because I like having it fresh in my head when we talk.
You're right.
So I have season 6 ready to go, ready to record whenever you are.
Not fresh in my head, but you're right.
Well, I have notes. I can refresh your recollection. But so I started the second Thrawn. I have it right here. I'm on page 76. But nobody fucking told me that this book takes place on Batuu. Batuu is Galaxy's Edge at Disney.
We can't just give away all the good secrets.
I Googled when Batuu opened, is Batuu in Star Wars? Like, is this something I missed? Like, what movie, what show, what is this in? And I found nothing. I found that it was made for Disney. Whether it was made for Disney or not, I think this book came out around when Galaxy's Edge opened. See, Logan was an infant when Galaxy's Edge opened, I think. So it hit the year Irma hit. Yeah, so it was 2017. I think this book came out after that. So yeah, I'm loving it. And every time they're in Batuu and they're like describing Batuu and they're going to the cantina, I'm literally picturing it in my head. And I'm like, okay, this is where they are. I'm like, I wish I could just go to Disney today and just sit at Batuu and read this.
Is it kind of like posh of me to be like, okay, we've gotten enough of Batuu. Can we add on to it and maybe get the town that's in Mando that Carl Weathers is overlooking?
What, at Disney?
Of course, at Disney.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Expand on this bitch. Like
the problem is they can't. They could get rid of the Muppets show. Some people might riot.
I love the Muppets, but yeah, look,
because you can't go the other way. You got they could knock down the hotel.
Listen, it's Disney. They could always find ways. Okay, let's just go turn fucking Ron DeSantis's house into the next place. Let's just take over that right now.
He has Disney pictures up at his house since he got married.
That's what's hilarious. But yeah,
that is hilarious. So, but Governor Price is in the first book. And when I first meet Governor Price, I'm like, she seems so sweet and innocent. Oh, I feel bad for her. And then I was like, wait a minute, do I know her? And I Googled it. I'm like, that bitch, she's evil in Rebels. So, and then there was another person.
Bitch.
Well, she's already taken a turn. So yeah, she's already gone evil. But then there was another girl that I was like reading in the book and I felt bad. And then I'm watching Rebels and she dies in Rebels. I was like, oh my God, I forgot about this. Like I remembered the storyline, but I I'm bad with names. So
I am
reading,
too.
obviously,
It's
I
a
remember the
problem.
names more because I'm seeing them. But yeah, I digress. I will maybe I should do a review book by book, but I'm
Should.
hoping to finish this in the next week so that I only have to bring one book to Maine and not two books.
Oh God, no, not your main trip. Let's not talk.
So
I'm so
there you
jealous.
go.
Yeah, yeah, no, but for real, you are right, and I'm bad with names too. That's why Game of Thrones. I had such an issue with Game of Thrones because I'm like, God damn it,
Oh, they
so
talk and
many
talk and talk.
people and
And
nobody
75 names
has
for
a
one
common
person.
name, and I don't know who you are. It was always my biggest struggle. Let's go into some news though. We'll dive into some news. What do you have news wise?
So I do want to talk about the strike for a little bit, but we'll go into basic news first. Family Business Beer, for all you Supernatural beer fans, is on Tavor doing a pre-sale. Their Grackle Barrel Aged Stout did sell out. However, their Farmhouse, last I checked yesterday, was still available. It's a barrel aged sour called BA Farm Stuff. I did pre-order both. I haven't used Tavor. I fell off the wagon. I haven't used Tavor in years since
I
before
honestly
COVID,
haven't
and I
done it in
fell
a
off the
long time
wagon.
either because there was a point when we started doing this, I was really dropping a lot of money and I was like, this is a problem because it ain't cheap,
It
folks.
adds
That's for
up.
sure. And hey, they follow us on TikTok. So if they want to, maybe like, you don't have to sponsor the show, but you can like
We'll definitely
send
review
a
both the
box our
beers
way. Yeah, I know.
on ours. That would be cool. But that's what was hard. It was like, oh, $15, like no big deal. And then when you're doing that like every 3 days, my husband's like, you like the day two boxes showed up instead of one, he's like, you have to stop. Yeah, it
For
was
the
my fault.
love of God, make it stop.
But when he's like, I saw these charges and I couldn't stop smiling. I'm like, oh, family business is on Devor. So your Roosevelt collection, Mr. Morrow, is a great person to follow on YouTube. He's Mr. Morrow, as in paging Mr. Morrow, Mr. Tom Morrow from Space Mountain. He has a whole Disney line collection on Roosevelt. There is a live action Gargoyles movie coming to Disney. I don't know why this is happening, but there's a Fast and Furious ride coming to Universal Hollywood. I can't imagine it's going to be the same because it is
I have
literally
asked to be the first
the
person to
worst
ride it, and
ride.
they've ignored me, but I am going to persist.
Have you been on the one at Universal?
A long time. I don't even remember it.
It is
Listen,
literally the worst ride I've ever been on in my entire life. I'm not kidding. The line's fun. That's the one where we play the drinking game. Every
how
time they
dare
said
you?
family or party, we took a sip. And Erica's like, that was a terrible choice to drink a stout.
How dare you?
It was so bad. I'm sorry. Even Fast and Furious fans don't like that ride. I mean, it was
Anyways,
enjoyable because it was so bad. So bad. The CGI is bad. They're all drinking Coronas. It's so bad. Charles Barkley. So he bought a round of drinks and he said he was going to buy Bud Light. And if people cancel him, he'll just go golf all day. I love Charles Barkley. He said, quote, if you're gay, God bless you. If you're trans, God bless you. And you have to have a problem with them, fuck you, end quote. I love it. He's like, cancel me away because people cheered and booed for the Bud
I
Light.
love Chuck, man. I love me some Charles Barkley.
Black is Beautiful, Volume 2 has begun with
They've
Weathered
listened
Souls
to our
Brewing.
podcast. I'm convinced.
They're doing an IPA now. So I was excited about that. I was
Nice.
posting that I drank the Black is Beautiful on our
Yeah.
Instagram and I Googled it real quick because I wanted to see what the current stats were. I was like, what? I had
And
no
it wasn't
idea.
because I
So,
tagged you. Oh, that's cool. No, that's
well,
fine.
that was
That's fine.
good that it came up after the
No, it's fine.
fact. Oh, so you didn't read the Hops News post I posted? I see how it is. Gen V, September 29th.
They got to compete with Paw Patrol and Saw 75 at this point.
Paw Patrol.
Paw Patrol has a new movie coming out September 29th. If you don't think I'm going to be there, then you
So
clearly
glad
don't have kids
my
who are into Paw
kids have
Patrol.
grown out of Paw Patrol. Logan grew out of Paw Patrol about a year ago.
Wow.
Didn't grow
Okay.
out of it,
Paw
got
Patrol's
over it.
dope. All right. Number one, Bluey is even better, but that's neither here nor there.
He was watching Bluey the other day. He's also, I told him the other day, I'm like, no more, you can't have iPads till the bedtime. He goes, what if I put on Rebels? You son of a bitch, you got me.
Smart man.
Yep. But now he's watching it under my account and fucking up my watch.
Ah, bastard. Well,
That's what I got.
so Secret Invasion is coming to Hulu. The first 3 episodes, it's coming to Hulu by now. It's already out on Hulu. Go check that out. Secret Invasion. I've been watching that, and we'll save our thoughts after the finale next week, or this week rather. Miss Marvel coming to ABC. The first 3 episodes will premiere on August 5th. The last 3 will premiere on August 12th. This is the first time that a Disney Plus series has premiered on cable network television. Check it out. Speaking of Miss Marvel, Iman Vellani will be writing the Miss Marvel mutant comic book. Yes, You heard that right. We recently killed her off, but she isn't staying dead. She's coming back as a mutant with Iman Vellani, who is coming for Kevin Feige's job, mind you. And so be on the lookout for that. Wicked excited. She is super stoked about this character, and we're getting more Marvels. The Marvels is posting out some new teaser trailers. We're getting the McDonald's toys, all sorts of stuff. Doesn't come out till November, which sucks, but the hype is there. Aside from that, Nathan Fillion has been cast as Guy Gardner, aka the Green Lantern in Superman Legacy. Isabella Merced is Hot Girl, and Eddie Gathegi is Mr. Terrific. He played in X-Men First Class. He got done so dirty. So
Oh yeah,
casting news, yes.
that was a rough death.
Yes, it
That was
was.
a sad death. He was the guy. What was his name? Was Darwin? Because he
Darwin,
would
yeah.
adapt to things, and yeah, he
They
tried
blew
to
him up from the
adapt.
inside out. It's very stupid, very awful. He was not done
And
justice.
he was
In
so nice.
speaking of it, Deadpool 3 has paused production because reportedly loses $600,000 a day. Good is what I say. Pay your writers, pay your actors. A lot of people think that these actors make like millions. No, there's like 1% of these actors that are
Right.
set for life. All the side characters, the background actors, a lot of people like that, they don't make, you have to make like $26,000 to qualify for health insurance. And there's certain parameters, like it has to be within this calendar year and all this other stuff. A lot of these people don't make it. So they're working different jobs. And that's the point, because you have somebody from Orange is the New Black who gets 27 cents in royalties from being a main character in the show. That's why we're striking. Universal went against, didn't get a city permit, and apparently cut the trees that these workers were striking under. I hope they get sued to high hell.
Oh
I
my
hope
gosh.
NBC loses everything. I hope these studios lose everything. Yeah, it's an absolute train wreck. These studios are trash. Bob Iger himself makes like $78,000 a day, but yet
Oh,
it,
his
it,
popularity is going down real quick. Everybody was so happy when he came back.
he's the savior, right? And
And
all this.
yeah, he hasn't gone back on a lot of things that people were hoping he would go back on.
And just a fun fact, Bob Iger and crew are hanging out in Sun Valley, Idaho, 2 hours north of me right now. So I will go kick down doors if I have to. Not really, because I don't want to get arrested. However, I will provide you a place to sleep if we would like to go strike up at there. I know a couple breweries.
There you go.
Anyways, Only Murders in the Building will premiere August 8th on Hulu. Paul Rudd and Meryl Streep are joining the cast this season. Not going to talk about it anymore because we shouldn't.
Of the strike? Okay.
Yes. Anyways, Aquaman sequel has reportedly gone through 3 reshoots, 2 Batmans, and multiple test screenings, and it's not doing well. James Wan is apparently living in hell. Aquaman 3 or 2, I should say, not received well. They don't want to tie anything in. They wanted to make it as solo as possible. Not looking good, my friends. Not looking good. However, what is looking good is Comic-Con has a cruise out of Tampa that is setting sail in 2025. It's going to sail from Tampa to Cozumel over 5 days. A 5-day Comic-Con cruise. First of all, bring your deodorant, please, dear Jesus. Second of all, can you imagine? Like, I think we should do this. I think we should do this one.
There's a really good brewery in Cozumel. We actually got to meet one of the owners last time we were there, and the beer was surprisingly good.
Then we're going to do it. We got to do it. What do you want me to say? We got to do that. So that's it for the news today. Stay tuned in just a moment as we are joined by Charlie, aka Charles Xavier, my good friend of over a decade now, who's going to join us for Jaws 2. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, all of the above. We'll be right back. What's up, folks? Welcome back. As I said, main topic time, Jaws 2, the 1978 classic, fan favorites, not necessarily fan favorites, because as I was watching this movie, I'll be honest with you, I'm like, wow, this movie's a lot worse than I remember. However, it did come out once, like I said, 1978. Roy Scheider is back as Brody, Lorraine Gary, Ellen Brody. This time we have Joseph Mescalo in this as well, Murray Hamilton, Jeffrey Kramer. Gang's all here. Kids are stupid. And the IMDb says that Police Chief Brody must protect the citizens of Amity after a second monstrous shark begins terrorizing the waters. Dun, dun, dun.
Who could have thought that would happen?
Wow. Man.
I mean, 2 rogue sharks. That is kind of crazy.
Well, one's an anomaly, 2's a coincidence. 3, you got Deep Blue Sea. I don't know.
When we watched it with my nephew, who he's 19, and he's like, "So is this the same shark?" And I'm like, "Nah, they blew that shark up." And I'm like, "Well, is it the same shark? Maybe he's just like what are the
You know
odds
what?
that
This
two
is a
of
part of
these
the
fucking
Fast and
rogue
Furious
sharks come?"
universe where the shark has family, and you know what? He's coming after him.
I still
But
stand by it. My favorite is the third one, but we'll talk about that next year.
oh yeah, that's right. I haven't even watched the third one. I didn't watch this one in a
Takes
long
Well,
place at
time.
SeaWorld.
Oof. That's right.
oh,
It
the third
does.
one is unbelievable in its awfulness. It's
Yes.
first off, it's got Dennis Quaid in it too.
That's right.
Yeah.
I completely brain dumped Jaws 3. I've brain dumped everything. Jaws, everything after the original. To be honest with you, I don't remember shit.
Well,
Until
they had it.
Leah Thompson as
Yeah.
well from Back to the Future.
wow.
And they pretend like SeaWorld's next to the beach, and
It
SeaWorld is
is.
miles and miles and miles from it. It's like 45 minutes to the
Which is
closest
funny
beach,
because
if
that one
that.
was Jaws 3D. And not
Yeah.
only was it Jaws 3, but it was Jaws 3D at
In the
that.
early 80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're getting our head over it. So stay tuned
Yeah.
next
So stay
next year
tuned.
during Shark Week.
Charlie will be back. But that beautiful voice you hear is our good friend, Charles Xavier, as I like to call him, our resident Jaws expert. Charlie, what's up, my dude?
What's up?
Your voice is beautiful.
I'm
So
excited to be back on this thing after 2 years.
you said, man, time is a flat circle because I feel like it really
Yeah.
wasn't 2 years. And then we've also kicked the tires on starting back up our own movie podcast again, which originally we were going to do before I was ever a part of this show. The podcast origins go deep, and Charlie and I have deeper ties to this movie as well. So, my dude, what are you drinking? And then also introduction to Jaws. Tell the people a background to your Jaws lore.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll get into that. What I'm drinking is I just found this at the liquor store down the street, Santa Monica I guess Santa Monica Brewing Company. And yeah, or Santa Monica Brew Works. All right, let me get that straight first off. Want to give them the correct shout out here. And this is the 310 Blonde Ale. So it's pretty decent actually. This is my first time having it.
I mean, we start the movie with a blonde in a bathing suit.
It's true. And also California has some good beer.
It's
When I was
every
there
movie
for your
should
wedding,
start.
like
Oh,
I went to
yeah.
that 14 Cannons, I went to the Tarantula Hills, I went to a few spots, and California low key in that LA area has some pretty good beers, man.
Yeah, those places are actually pretty good. I used to, before I moved to LA proper, that's where I used to live, is that area. And I used to go to THBC all the time. Good beer, good food. I think I recommended that to you, right?
You did.
Or,
Well,
okay.
while you guys were doing the stuff that night for your wedding, you were like, go here. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And dude, killer recommendation. So yeah, check those out. And you know, fun fact, Charlie actually had a bit of a Jaws quote at his wedding. The actual wedding was going down. And so he knows a thing or two about Jaws. So what is your affection? Because it's your favorite movie, Jaws 1 is. Tell everybody what your love about Jaws is, and we'll go from there.
I mean, it's just like it hits home. It's obviously being from New England. That movie's always resonated with me. This movie specifically, though, was my first one that I've seen, or my first experience in the Jaws universe, though. I did not see the first one first. I did not see it in order. I actually saw 2, 3, and then 1.
Man.
Well, this is what happens when you see. I just remember seeing parts of this movie. It was played all the time, I think, on PBS back in the day.
Yeah, it's back when we had cable and TV and couldn't just stream things.
Something
They'd
about
watch
Yeah.
movies in
Yes, too.
increments. Yeah. You had to hope that TBS was going to restart the movie when it ended so you could watch the beginning after you watched the end.
Yeah, no, and this is honestly like the main thing that always stuck out to me was the ending with the power cable. Like that was the one thing, and I think they would always have commercials on PBS back in the day of those. But that was the first one I saw, and then I saw the Jaws 2, and then I saw Jaws 3D because my uncle had it on VHS, and that one is just awful. But it's gotta love Dennis Quaid. I mean, that's got quite the cast in that one. But I definitely remember back in the day. Yeah, it's random, right? Like that. It's actually got like sort of a sort of a weird cast in that too. I think Lou Gossett Jr.'s in that as well. Um, but the first one is like my all-time favorite. As Matt had just said, me and my wife, who just got married like almost a month ago at this point. This is like one of our favorite movies of all time. It's one of the first things we bonded over. My brother has a dog named Quint. And actually, funny enough, my cousin has a dog named Brody. That is a total coincidence. He's not as big on Jaws as we are, but it was the best happy accident ever. So yeah, I've just always been a fan of these movies, and always had a love for them, especially the first one. To me, I think we talked about this last time we were on with Jurassic Park. I said, name your favorite Spielberg movies. This has always been number one for me. It still always will be, is the first one. But Jaws 2 is just the right amount of terribleness that I love in a movie. I can't wait to talk about this. I was watching it last night. I'm like, oh my God, I'm writing down notes in my handbook for the recently deceased.
That's awesome.
And I was just having so much fun watching it. I was just like, this is so bad. I was like, I can't wait to talk about this.
All right, you need to come back in October and we should do Beetlejuice.
Oh, yes.
God, we haven't talked Beetlejuice.
We haven't talked about it. Anyways, yes.
There's a sequel coming up soon.
I know. Apparently. I think it just got delayed.
Finished filming. No, I thought they finished filming right before everything happened. I believe.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
Will things still get delayed though? I thought they said it was continued. Well, we'll report on that when we know.
Yeah, things are going to get delayed because of everything right now. Being so close to it, I know.
Yeah, that's true. So Jaws 2.
Wait, I gotta talk about my beer.
Oh yeah, what is your beer, Lauren? My apologies, folks. It's like I've never done this before.
Well, you did already do your beer, so that's
kind of drunk.
So that's even better. Those are the best episodes. So this one is not shark themed, but I have it in a shark glass, and it is the Kool-Aid Man because Jaws busts through those boats like the Kool-Aid Man, going, "Hey!" And so this is a Tripping Animals beer called Cool Days. It is a sour ale conditioned with lemon, lime, and mandarin. That's funny because I thought I was tasting mango. Maybe the color threw me off too. Very thick sour.
Juicy.
It's super juicy. I mean, it was like at the end, like the fruit came out. Very thick, but it's yummy. It's not overly puckery sour, but it's not like sweet either. But it's good. It's been in my fridge for a little bit, so I feel like that sometimes calms down the sourness.
Oh yeah, definitely with sours. Then when they sit a little bit longer, as long as you didn't have it sitting out of your fridge like some people do, and then
oh God, no, it would have exploded.
Yeah, especially in that heat. Woof.
Yeah. Oh, it's not even a year old. It's less than a year old.
Well, that's good news. I'm gonna have to grab another beer soon. But yes, oh yeah, Jaws picks right back up with Brody, who clearly has some PTSD from the first movie. Years after shark attacks that left Amity Island reeling, Sheriff Martin Brody, played by Roy Scheider, finds new trouble lurking in the waters. Mayor Vaughn, played by Murray Hamilton, wants to rid the beach town of the stain on its reputation, but the disappearance of a pair of divers suggests that all is not right. When Sheriff Brody voices his warnings about holding a sailing competition, everybody thinks it's just post-traumatic stress. That is, until a shark fin cuts through water. Now, fun fact about this movie, it was actually filmed in Navarre Beach, Okaloosa Island, in Destin, which is the Gulf side of Florida, which is actually where Charlie and I met. And I have thrown up in just about every Waffle House parking lot in that entire stretch of land. Fun fact. And also might have hit a bus that was parked and not even a working bus in that area. Yeah, it was filmed in that area, white sandy beaches. I'm sorry, folks, but that crystal clear water you see,
I know, it was like turquoise.
In hell, that is New England water, because if you know anything about New England, it is murky, brown, and cold. None like this. So yeah.
My 10-year-old goes, "How do you know that one's Florida?" I'm like, the water's turquoise.
Literally the sands and the waters match our backyard. So that's how it is.
It was so funny because the beach scenes are so obviously not New England, but then when they're in like the town part, you don't see the beach. I'm like, oh, this could definitely be New England. Like this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do.
This feels like the Cape.
You're like, oh, it's the Cape. You know, all the yuppies down there and stuff like that. But then they go to the water and you're like, oh, where are we?
Well, they did film some of it up there, but then all the beach stuff. But it was funny because they had like the one building on the beach and they made it look New Englandy. Like that wasn't like a Florida house on the beach. Like that get blown away in a hurricane.
Well, that area where they filmed
you
it
guys
right
get
there,
hurricanes too.
I believe it's like a bar now, like a whole bar area right there now.
Well, so jump ahead to one of the fun facts. The hotel that was like I mean, man, bring back Holiday Inns like that. Like that was an amazing Holiday Inn, where the movie opens on, and they're like, you see the girl in the bikini cut the balloons so close to the beach. So I have a lot of comments about the balloons, but it burned down because of Hurricane Ivan back in 2004. So it's not really a fun fact, sad fact.
I mean, it could be a fun fact. That's what you get for releasing balloons. I don't know.
Right? Bad karma. The ghost of the poor, all the dead sea turtles who ate balloons came back and burned the motherfucker to the ground.
Well, Lauren,
there you go.
Why don't you take us away with your initial thoughts and where you first saw this movie?
Oh God. I think it's similar to Charlie. Like I saw these movies when I was younger and kind of mixed all of them in. And while I didn't grow up, up there, I grew up in Florida and I grew up snorkeling. So, like my daughter last night, she goes, I thought you didn't like horror movies when you were younger. Why do you like Jaws? Because I like sharks. So it's just my love of sharks. I hate what these movies have done for shark conservation or lack thereof, but I think we've pulled back on that. But I love sharks. That's it. And what was funny is the cousin, when she showed up, I go, I don't remember this movie at all, but I know she's going to cry a lot. I distinctly remembered her crying.
Some people just have
oh my God,
faces
it was it was awful.
But I hadn't seen this probably since a kid. Yeah. Yeah. And she was terrible, though. Her best acting was crying because the line at the bar, she was terrible.
Yeah, it was god awful. It's funny you say that though, because I definitely don't remember seeing this after like childhood either. So
yeah.
It's one of those things like I never thought to revisit it. Even though I love Jaws, I just always kind of stuck with the first one and that's it, because the rest are pretty terrible. Let's be real. But yeah, it was a pleasure to like revisit this again. My wife was just she obviously watched it with me last night and just was commenting. She was just like, "Oh, you got to comment on this." Younger? I'm like, "I know." Oh yeah, yeah. She might have. It's definitely a movie you could fall asleep to.
Like laid on his stomach and wasn't even trying.
I'll be honest with you, I dozed off mid movie during the afternoon yesterday, so I had to go back and like rewind because absolutely old man style. That's how I was.
But, you had quite the day then.
No, it was adventurous. So I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts. You watched as a child, going back and rewatching it as an adult. What are some things that either you noticed more, or how did your views change from the initial viewing when you were like a kid and sharks were amazing and all of the sorts of things like that?
You can go first, Charlie.
Yeah, I'd say the main thing, like, first off, I know a lot more about film now. So that's like, we're going to get into why I have a lot of bones to pick with this movie and how terrible it is. I mean, first thing you notice is like just the way they handle, I want to say it's like the first opening like score. And this is John Williams too. He's still the one doing the score and everything like that. He just, I don't know what it is. It sounds so whimsical until like, or just like adventure. Like I feel like it's a Star Wars theme at first.
Yeah.
If you were to replace the beginning part of it until they introduce like the orca and the diving scene, it literally feels like, I'm like, this could be put into a Star Wars movie. So the whole tone is off from the beginning, where it's like the first movie, you got the Jaws theme right away. You know what we're getting into. And it sets the tone for the whole movie, because then it's just, this is off. Something's off. It's not on the right tone. And that's obviously clearly when you have Steven Spielberg directing, like he knows what he wants. He knows the tone of the movie and what it's supposed to be. And clearly whoever directed this did not have that sort of vision. So yeah, that was like one thing that stuck out to me. I mean, we can dive into so much more though. And this is just within the first few minutes, but think about it too. They show the shark way too early in this movie. Think about how Jaws
almost
is like
immediately. It feels like,
yeah.
Oh, like right in the first kill.
Yeah, right, it was like you were on the Jaws ride. He just came right up and just.
Well,
I did like though that they.
Yeah, that's what's scary about
Yeah.
Jaws. Like, you
But that
don't
was a
see 'em
happy
lot.
accident in the first
Yes.
one. So I guess they didn't have, but I know that Bruce 2.0 or whatever was not going great this time either. But yeah, they did show him right away. But I did like that they started with the Orca shipwreck. I thought that was a good tie to the beginning. So I will give them credit for that. But I also don't understand why they didn't get that film developed the second they freaking got it and why nobody else saw Shark Eye because we all did. But I have a lot of
Yeah.
other, like, all my comments are just like, this is ridiculous. Oh, and another thing with Florida. So you have all those lobster, fishermen or divers, and they're going out to go get lobster. And the one lobster they show, they had no footage of a Maine lobster, apparently, or a lobster from New England. It was a spiny lobster, which are in Florida, not up north. So they couldn't even get like that
They
one
literally
little
had
bit
one
of.
job.
You just get to, it's okay. They have lobsters down here. Nobody will notice.
Guys, look.
But yeah, our lobsters don't have claws.
Really? I didn't know that. I didn't even know there were lobster down there. I just figured that lobsters were more
We have
of
a
like
whole
the,
lobster fest and season in the Keys. You go to mini season and then
and
you
they
have
don't
full
have
season.
claws. Weird.
No, I mean they're spiny lobster. They look different. They don't have the cliche. For anybody just listening, I'm putting my hands like claws.
You are, and it's hilarious.
It is.
Thank you.
Yeah, this movie just doesn't hold up, man. Like, there's no suspense to it. I felt like the whole time there was, I get
Yeah.
it. Like, Brody was dealing with, I've never been fired before. He's struggling. Like, that was the most
They were
suspenseful anything
so
got.
misunderstanding to him.
Oh, yeah. The fact that like he saved the entire town in tourism season from, I don't know, the shark attacks that very recently just happened. And his good bud's already down in the Antarctic on another expedition. And he's kind of left there in this town still to kind of pick up the pieces. Yeah, they didn't understand this at all.
Right. Quint's dead. I like that they at least acknowledged why Hooper wasn't there. Like if they hadn't acknowledged that at all, I would have been like, it's like with short round. We're short round. Nobody's just gonna, just one throwaway line. Just let us know where short round is. That's all I ask. But I did have one jump scare. So the boat that blew up because, everybody driving a boat that close to shore, just pulling a skier has multiple cans of gas on board. Why wouldn't you? Her body, when Brody found her body, I did jump scare and I did scream. So that one got me. That was the only part of the entire movie that I felt like, I guess, scared because I do jump easy, but that fucking got me. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
That was a good jump scare. It was. I'll give him that. Like, that was one of those ones. Because I'm wondering, I'm like, why does he care about this piece of driftwood that's out here? And I feel like they drag it on just a little too long. So it's like you're thinking when like something's up with this, like what's up? And I totally forgot about it until obviously it happened. But it was also kind of too quick. Let's compare and contrast. Compare that to the first one where you have the jump scare of when Hooper's investigating the boat accident and the head pops out, like the ultimate jump scare. That it's just like it's so much better because there's a little bit of time. It's the music sting and everything like that really gets you going. And I don't know. I felt like this one was a good jump scare, but it was almost too quick.
Yeah. That's a good comparison. Like, because the head, you're like, wow, that was really scary. The shark's still in the area. There's still suspense going. Whereas this one, after I jump scared, I started laughing. And like, that's, not what you expect from a legit horror movie.
Well, I think a lot of the issue comes from the fact that in the first movie, again, you don't see the shark necessarily. You see them get pulled under and then a pool of blood. This movie, they do a lot more showing. And it's like, that doesn't necessarily work.
Man.
Yeah, if you're trying to build suspense, build that horror, build that sense of dread, you gotta just like leave it up to imagination. What's happening under the water? What's happening with the shark? Versus the shark just pops up, breaks through every boat in existence, no matter what it's made out of, and there we go. The shark, here it is.
And the mayor didn't have the anchor suit. I bring back the anchor suit. That was a big letdown. He had on like normal tacky suits.
Oh, Mayor Vaughn's suit in the first one. I need that for like a Halloween costume. I swear.
Yeah,
or a
was so on
boat
point.
day. I mean, you could wear that. You should wear that to MegaCon or like a Comic-Con. It's so subtle. Like people have to know. Those are the best cosplays.
I kind of wish I got married in it now. All right, I'm gonna have to redo this thing again.
All right, let's redo the wedding. We're going back.
Matt, why are you renewing your vows? You've been married for 2 months.
I mean, honestly, like that. I'm gonna tell that to my wife when she gets back and be like, we need to renew our vows, and I need to be wearing that suit.
Dude, we got married on the beach and then got on a boat, and my husband wasn't wearing it.
Oh my God. Look, we all need to just reconsider our lives and go back and redo this. What if we just
We've
like
been
start a
married
conga
long
line
enough.
if
We
we're
can.
all the men are in the same suit, just getting married down the line?
So when Funky Buddha Brewery down south, like we did a tour like years ago, and they said that they do brewery or they do weddings. I was like, oh man, now I want to get divorced and get remarried. And my husband's like, we could just renew our vows.
Oh yeah, no,
Okay,
that
we can
option
do
too.
that too.
You're right. You're totally right. That option too. That works.
Lots
It's
of
like, yeah,
options.
we don't need to go through that whole legal process thing. You know?
Right.
Look, we're gonna lose a lot of insurance money, okay, or whatever it is. But going back to Mayor Vaughn, considering the fact that like this tragedy really went down and the tourism and everything, he just could not care any less. He's still like the same douchebag.
Well, you can see how far removed from it he is because he didn't experience any direct personal trauma, whereas Brody did, and no one else there experienced what he experienced, other than maybe like a relative of like the mother of the little boy who died or something like that,
Right.
but not to the extent that he did. So he's the only one that went through it, and they're like not being nice to him.
I think the main trauma that Mayor Vaughn went through was how close the election was next time.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
Yeah.
traumatic enough, that the shark attack happened on his watch. Whoever was running against him probably had a strong campaign,
They just
but
show up there and show the shark.
Honestly, somebody like him, he probably took credit for like, I got the shark. It's like, okay, dude, like
He's like
it happened on
sent
your
out
watch.
the right men to go do it. He took
like
care of it. Yeah.
Obama making the "We got Osama" speech. He's like, "We got him. We got that son of a bitch."
And he's in a safe room while it's going down.
He's got his little floaties on. He's in like an armored yacht. But like,
Mayor Vaughn's a legend.
Yeah, Charlie, what were some things that you actually liked about this movie?
Oh man. Honestly, all right, let's go through. I will say one of the things I liked the best was Chief Brody when he sees like the school of bluefish. Like I like that whole setup actually. That was kind of a nice way to get him involved and like escalate it a little bit further. But the way he was waving his gun around, first off, like you could tell he was just like a nut job. Like they needed to steer into that. They needed to steer into that PTSD skit a little bit more in this one. That's my opinion. But the way he's just like waving his gun around, I swear to God, I thought he was Tommy DeSimone. So that's Joe Pesci's character from Goodfellas when he's waving the gun around because he's when he's about to shoot Spider, the Oklahoma kid. Yes. I thought that was him. I'm like, clearly Joe Pesci just stole this from Roy Scheider here. So,
well, and then he showed up with a shine box too. It was really weird.
The shark is Billy Bats. No, go get your fucking shine box.
Am I a clown? Do I amuse you? That's a Brody. Yeah, like Brody's all offended. He's like, "Am I amusing you?" No, that one too. Because we as the audience saw the dark image, and I thought, "Oh, it's a shark. It's a shark," because I didn't remember. And yeah, that was a good scene.
It was nice. It was similar to the first one where they have like the fake out on the beach or whatever, but there was no like they didn't copy and paste because there was no actual attack after that. But
right.
But I guess Brody was the attack if you really look at it.
Well, it was
that's actually true. Yeah.
Sweet seeing the kid pick up the shells with him. That doesn't sound sweet when I say it aloud, but it was a nice moment where he realized his son was still there for him and, wasn't seeing him like everybody else was. So that was a cute scene and it brought him, back to reality a little bit. But I know that the actor did not want to do this movie. And so there was a lot of animosity on set. And so I don't know how much of that made the movie not great and how much of that influenced everybody being mean to Brody on set. He was like contractually obligated to do the movie because he had dropped out of another movie and Universal would have like sued him if he didn't do this. And they said when they did 4, they didn't even bother asking him. They're like, we're just going to go ahead and kill him. We're just going to say he died.
Oof.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. It's you don't have anybody that's in the first movie that's in like the third or the fourth. Actually, Lorraine, is it Lorraine?
The mom is
Gray or Lorraine Gary? I forget her name.
I don't know. It's Mrs. Brody.
Yeah, yeah.
No, you're right. It's Lorraine Gary.
Okay.
Lauren Gary. Okay, yeah, she's in the last one with Michael Caine actually.
All right, so it's always the
Yeah.
side actors or actresses that come back, but the main focus of the movie never comes back past number 2 if you're lucky.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
definitely
yeah.
Unless
in
you're in the
this one.
Fast and Furious universe.
Or X-Men. Or I guess the
True.
MCU doesn't count.
That's true. But no, you are right. Yeah. So it
Spider-Man.
is I didn't know that, and it makes probably a lot of sense. Like he was just kind of there. Like, dude, I don't know how to explain it to you, man. Like at least you're getting paid, maybe.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he got decent money. I mean, this was a big studio sequel. So, um, one thing I did actually like about the movie, and it's something obviously of its time that doesn't happen anymore unless we're obviously doing a period piece, is the use of dark rooms as a reveal of something in a movie, like as a device, is just, I love it because it's
Mhm.
that slow development and like the push in on him. I was like, oh, this is nice. Like this is a nice little throwback. Obviously, doing a modern movie, not going to happen
Oh yeah,
at
they don't do
all.
that at all anymore.
Well,
We're getting the reveal with the characters, which is kind of cool. Well, I mean, you'll see in a movie, like you said, a period piece like Stranger Things or something. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I love that device, and I can like, oh
Yeah.
man, I missed this. It's like, it's great in those older movies when they use it, and that's why it's like it's great in modern movies when they, we're actually using film instead of digital pictures. So, and it's a cool way to reveal something. I mean, is this? I gotta ask you guys, do you think this is one of the best dark room reveals ever in a movie?
I'm gonna say no because we knew what was coming.
Yeah, I was kind of like leaning like it's solid, but one of the best. I don't know if
I
I go
honestly
that far.
expected more, but then it made sense. They needed something that was obvious to him and discreet to a room full of politicians that wanted to spin it however they wanted to spin it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're ahead of the characters too much, so it's almost like we're not catching up with them, so that makes sense. The best one I think is, if we're saying best darkroom reveals, is 7.
Yes,
God, I
yes.
haven't
Like
watched that in
scenes like
forever.
that, God bless. It's again, one thing that lacks from this entire movie is the sense of dread, which you could have used a dark room scene like this to kind of really, really play into that sense of dread, which is what the first Jaws did really well. This one is just they start to, like, you can feel them start to, but then it's almost like, oh, we got to move on too quickly. And so they don't let things
Mhm.
develop. I think that's what this movie suffers from a lot, is underdevelopment from a lot of characters, a lot of scenes, too much show don't or yeah, they do too much like showing rather than just like letting your imagination run wild.
Which is the
Matt,
scariest thing of all.
did you
I
just do a darkroom pun with
I
development?
picked that up
Oh,
too.
you
Yeah.
damn right I did. Come on, man.
Nice
I did not
segue.
mean to do that. No,
Really?
I'm
Because
gonna
you kept
pretend I
saying it
did.
too.
I will very much pretend I did, but some things just come naturally. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh my god, genius, absolutely genius.
Listen, I do it. But yeah, I will say probably my favorite scene from this movie is I wouldn't say favorite. A scene that made me laugh is when the shark is being defeated, right? It's this, you have Brody laying back and it's like a scene of fireworks going off, but it's very choppy, very weirdly cut, and you're just like, what is this poorly? And then the shark's just burned to shit and just dies. There's no
I wish
blowing
they had
up, no
showed
explosion.
his lack of skeleton would have just made it all that, because it was like Marv getting electrocuted in Home
It
Alone
it
too.
felt really
Or
campy.
was it one?
Yes.
But it's like obviously sharks don't have skeletons, but this movie was so inaccurate that I could see that happening.
It was one of those like very much just such a poor, yeah, it like a slapstick almost with the way the shark died. It 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 was poor CGI for the time, almost is what it felt like, because you see Brody there and it's just like these very slow motion choppy sequences of flashes of the sparks, and then the sharks just burned, and then that's it. And you're just like, all right, movie's over. That's it. Goodbye. Even though these stupid kids are out there doing stupid things and
The
just
kids weren't
what?
doing too much stupid things though, I will say. Like usually like you
That's
knew the one
you're
guy was
right.
gonna die because he kept trying to have sex with a girlfriend. It's typical scary
Yes.
movie rules. But like they really weren't that bad. They were just out on the boats.
That's
But
fair.
Well,
like
There,
that
you
actually
know.
that brings up something interesting, Lauren, because I was thinking about this watching the movie. Is this movie was made in 1978, and this is before Halloween, and like Halloween took off the slasher genre, and it
Oh
has some of the
yeah.
Before the
tropes that
rules, yeah.
exist.
I
Yeah,
think
it
we just
has.
want to teach kids. Like if it's like Mean Girls just said it. If you have
Sex
sex,
is
you will get
bad.
pregnant and die. So
it,
like they
it's
used to be subtle about it.
it's got those tropes though, and I was just like, I'm curious. I'm like, I wonder what this movie would have been like if it was a post Halloween movie. Like because at points it felt like the shark was Jason Voorhees in this movie.
Yeah.
It literally did. It just felt almost slashery, but it just wasn't the tone.
Mhm.
And that's why I was like, I kind of wish I was like, it was post Halloween. It would have been a little bit better. And I think Jaws 3D tried to capture some of that when it
Well,
came
it's
out
crazy
because,
because both were made in 1978.
No, I thought.
yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
the Halloween and that. I
Yeah,
thought you meant
Halloween and
Jaws
Jaws too
3D.
both came
Okay.
out the same year. So I'm really curious. Did one like kind of borrow from the other of a sense of they filmed relatively in the same? I mean, they both were filmed, Universal Lot, California, all that kind of stuff. Did they
I think
like
it
kind of?
makes sense though to make the victims the perpetrators. It's karma, bitch.
yeah.
That's true.
I mean, the one thing I will say though is that the one character we care about, we don't spend as much time with. And
Like
like
the
the
little
other
boy.
ones that we do, it's like, yeah, his kids, but like, I don't care about his kids. I don't care about these teenagers at all.
At
Like
all.
that. And they're
Well,
all just terrible.
they
So,
The
did kill
teen
the one girl that was being nice to the little boy, and I had
oh
remembered
yeah.
that she died. It was weird the things that would suddenly pop into my head. Like it was like I was having premonitions, but they were memories. And I was like, damn, they killed her, and like she was a nice one. She's like, you can come with me, little kid. But also, well, here, I'll let you finish your thought before I go off on a tangent.
No, honestly, like this was like the main thought I was having throughout this was like, what? This is like a precursor to slashers almost. And I feel like it's not talked about as much, but if you look at what it is and how it's structured and what's going off of it, like it's totally it's totally of the slasher genre, or at least like, a pre-slasher sort of thing. It's kind of weird like looking at it through those lenses now, because I wouldn't have, as a young kid, like I would not have thought that, but like now watching movies and knowing how the genre works and the conventions of it,
Right.
it's just so obvious of what they did. And it's before Halloween, so it's very curious to me of like how this could have really like been a different movie just 2 years later.
Yeah. Yeah, that one girl would still be alive. And
or
the
would
girl
she
who
have?
told him to defy his parents would be dead. I mean, he did get, he ignored his parents' grounding rule and but he survived. But how interesting was it? It's also a movie of its time where they wake up and their kids are gone and like the nanny house sitter shows up and she's like, "I don't know where my kid is. He left before I got up. Good luck to you.
Oh,
Bye." And that was
parents
it.
and nannies, they do not care about the kids. Like kids,
Like you didn't
again,
even leave a note like I'm taking my brother on the boat. Like not even a note.
they
No,
don't.
because he wasn't supposed to go on anyway, so
Yeah.
he couldn't. They had to be really sneaky about
He
it.
could have just said
Yeah.
I brought so and so with me to work. Like at least, let her know her kid's alive. But she didn't care, so I guess it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's like I do miss those days. Even growing up in like the 90s, my mom would not care a lot of times if like I was just playing around the neighborhood.
Oh, if as long as you're
They
back
would be
for
working.
street lights coming on, yeah. Or
They would
you're
yell in or out. Stop going in or out. Just stay out.
yes. If you're out, you're out. Don't come back until, dinner or the street lights come on. And I don't want to see you till then. And you didn't have
Yeah.
cell phones then. So it's like, all right. You either relied on hearing your mom yell with her screechy tone in the neighborhood and hope you heard it, or you came back home at night.
Yeah.
I didn't come home at all. I just stayed out all night, and that's why.
Are your parents still
That's
looking for
why he
you?
watched
That's why there's. Yeah.
he was watching Halloween and ended up in faraway California. He left when he was a young boy.
Yep.
It's
And
true.
I
And they
still don't know how to
smoked in the
surf.
house, too.
It's true. Charlie, don't surf. Surfing company. Lauren, why don't you hit us? Is there any other fun facts that we haven't discussed yet? Because you're a
Yes,
fun
I
fact
have
guru.
quite a few, but I will say the worst part of the movie is they were playing with water balloons in the ocean. This is the least environmentally friendly movie ever. We were watching it
We're all
there,
about the environment on this podcast,
stepping
okay?
all over the coral, and like I'm like, this is Coral Restoration Awareness Day, and like we are watching this movie. My kids were like going to stand on coral when we were snorkeling in the Bahamas a couple months ago, and I yelled at them. I'm like, "Do not stand on the coral. You're going to kill the coral." And my mother-in-law is like, "And you'll hurt your feet." I'm like, "Their feet will grow back quicker than the coral. I don't give a shit
Fuck
about their
those
feet. I
feet.
care
I
about
don't
the
care. We
coral.
got wheelchairs.
Your skin heals way quicker than coral." Okay, so there's a lot of fun facts, and they're all kind of tragedies. Like we said before, Steven Spielberg turned down the offer to direct because he originally didn't think the movie needed a sequel. The original idea for Jaws 2 was going to be a prequel about Quint and what he experienced during the sinking and aftermath of the real life USS Indianapolis tragedy that occurred during World War II. If you remember in the first one, he talked about that. It's based on a real story. Obviously, his character was not there, but it was some historical fiction where hundreds of helpless sailors were eaten by sharks after their boat sank. There's a very interesting and sad documentary they did one year during Sharkweek. Definitely recommend checking it out. And it's very interesting hearing the opinions of the survivors. They're very split. Like at the end, you hear, sharks they're just sharks. They're fun. And other people, I hate sharks. They're evil. Very interesting story. Very sad. Despite being paid 4 times as the first movie, Brody, Roy Scheider, did not want to be there. He did not get along with the director, and he had recently left the production of Deer Hunter, which led to conflicts with Universal. And so they had locked him into some multi film contract, and the studio agreed to forgive him leaving Deer Hunter if he did Jaws 2, which they would count as the 2 remaining films of his contract with them. He agreed to the terms, but was apparently resentful of his involvement the whole time.
Listen, you got a 1-for-2 deal. You can't be that upset. You signed the contract.
I still remember like a friend of mine I worked with at the daycare years ago, somebody bitching about working, and she's like, "Sucks to have a job. Like sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Read the contract." A few months before his death, Robert Shaw, who is Quint, had the chance to see the movie at a private screening, and his reaction was, quote, "I'm glad I did not intervene in this piece of shit," end quote. On Brody.
That so is legendary Robert Shaw right there. Absolutely legendary.
On Brody's front porch, there is a flower planter painted in bright yellow. I actually did notice it, and it's one of the barrels from the first film that they shoot Jaws with. I did mention that the sad holiday holodome is what they called it, disappeared. During a scene where a group of teens is stuck on the boat, the actors were actually waving for help in real life because there was a hammerhead shark in the area, but the crew and director didn't realize because they were supposed to be waving their arms and being like, "Shark." So maybe you got some good method acting there. Ron and Valerie Taylor, who had captured the real shark footage in the first movie. We actually talked about them when we talked about Jaws last year. They were brought back. However, as we did mention last year, they were not happy with how the movie made sharks look. So Valerie turned her attention to conservationism in a bid to protect sharks from humans. I was surprised they came back at all for this movie, honestly. Many Florida locals were in the movie. However, some were not happy and wore shirts that said Universal Go Home. I guess this is before we had a Universal here. And the shark for this cost $1.5 million, and the saltwater fucked it up almost immediately. And as a result, he wouldn't shut his mouth. So that is why Bruce 2.0 had his mouth open for a lot of the movie.
I just figured he was hungry the whole time. I don't know.
Yep. Bruce and all the Jaws sharks are great white sharks. And much like Bruce in Nemo, what did I write? Oh, they are not mindless eating machines.
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
You want to give us
fish of friends? No.
All right, exactly.
Exactly.
We are not mindless eating machines. Well, except for stupid dolphins. So any more Jaws comments before we go into some great white fun facts?
No, I was gonna say I was gonna save the last final thoughts and our ratings here. So if you want to go into great white facts, and then we'll wrap up with our final thoughts and our rating.
Okay, so I do have some great white fun facts because this is our Shark Week episode. If you've been listening to us from the beginning, you know that this is the greatest time of the year. It's the most wonderful week of the year, but it is a bad week to be a seal. Shark Week has been celebrated in our house for years. It's the only week of the year we have cable other than the NBA Finals when the Heat are doing well. And great whites are not fans of fighting each other or attacking humans. We are simply not on the menu. Oh, did you give me a thumbs down for the Miami Heat thing? Okay. Great whites were here before dinosaurs. They can eat seals whole, and then they won't eat again for 3 months.
They have about great whites were here first. You can watch it in the actual documentary called The Meg, and they have a sequel documentary, The Meg 2, starring Jason Statham.
So I thought you were going to say The Meg 2 but I didn't
Too
know.
Meg, too furious, actually.
Oh my God. Okay, so my daughter was asking like why don't they do Jaws movies now? And I'm like, well, I feel like Meg is better for his like shark conservation because Meg is more unrealistic because it's a prehistoric shark. But that movie was not good. I don't think the second one's going to be good
It's a
either.
comic book too, just a fun fact.
Really? I didn't know that. Deep Blue Sea wasn't bad. That's the one where the sharks are smart, right?
They ate me. A fucking shark ate me. Yes.
That was good though
Oh
Sam
my
because
God.
Jackson,
like
R.I.P.
then they're like swimming backwards and like like that
Ice
was
Cube.
fun.
It's got everybody. It's
Oh
great.
It's early
no,
CGI.
It is.
It's
wasn't
early
it
CGI.
LL Cool
Sam
J?
Jackson.
Oh, that's
Yes,
right. You're
LL
right.
Cool
Oh my
J.
God, that's so racist of me. Yes, it's LL Cool
Well,
J.
I mean, they both have like cool things going. You got Ice Cube is cold, LL Cool.
Yes,
Okay.
it was LL Cool J and Sam Jackson, and also
I
Thomas
forgot Sam
Jane.
Jackson was in
Thomas
it.
Jane was in it too. Our Punisher.
Was it
Well,
Ashton
Matt,
Kutcher?
you're mixing up your movies too. Uh, what's his face? Ice Cube was actually in Anaconda. So
That's
you're
right.
mixing up like the
Yes. Oh
two
my God.
different
There's so many like
animal movies that came out around the
animals
same time. Yeah.
killing. Oh my
So,
God.
but yeah, it's actually like a weirdly like not a bad cast whatsoever. And like the best part is Sam Jackson just getting eaten because like he's sitting
Out of
there giving the
nowhere.
speech and then boom out of nowhere, fucking shark comes out and just rips him up. And it's hilarious.
I
Actually,
need to
It really
rewatch that
is.
one.
I
I
need to
totally
as
forgot
well.
he was in it. Well, and then
Yes.
when the one guy that they save and like he's getting helicoptered and they get him and then they throw him to like break and you just see the sorrow on his face. Dude,
These
oh my
man.
movies are
God.
so bad.
Oy. They really should be making movies about orcas, though. That was another qualm with the movie that I had. They had the shark kill an orca. That, no. If anything's
There's
going to
no
happen,
orcas off the
the,
New England coast, just so we're clear, by the way.
the orcas might travel by, but that's irrelevant. Like sharks aren't eating orcas. Orcas are eating sharks. They'll bite them
Yeah.
just for their nutrient-rich livers, and because they make them go catatonic. Okay,
Yeah.
so
I was thinking the same thing. And also, like, thematically, I'm like, wait, let's think about this. The name of Quint's book is the Orca because orcas kill sharks. You're destroying, like, thematically what that actually means, too.
I didn't even
It's,
think about
it's,
that. Yeah.
I was thinking, I'm like, what are they doing here? Like, I was like, are they just like purposely taking a shit on the first film right now? Like,
I
that's
think
what it felt
so.
like.
Well, I didn't even think of that. That's a great connection. So great white sharks have 300 teeth at a time and lose about 1,000 over their lifetime. However, those teeth are just for cutting their food; they're not actually for chewing. Adult great white sharks grow to a maximum size of approximately 20 feet in length, weighing up to 6,600 pounds, and are estimated to live for 30 years. And the girls actually get bigger than the boys. And
I like
Shark
'em
Week
thick.
starts by the time this episode comes out. Shark Week has just started. The Discovery Plus shows have been better than the ones on
I started to
Discovery
watch that
lately.
volcano shark last night. It wasn't that great. It's not
Well,
about
did you
sharks and
expect it to
volcanoes
be
at
good?
all. I was very misled.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. But the Discovery Plus ones have been more like documentary and more interesting, whereas Discovery, they'll have a really good one and then they'll have something stupid like a mockumentary. I'm still mad about that stupid mermaid mockumentary because I was like, they had me, man. They had me. But Aquaman's hosting Shark Week, so go watch Shark Week.
Jason Momoa for you fine people at home.
Nice.
Oh,
Yes.
but some of the specials are we're getting more alien sharks, monsters in the Bermuda Triangle, Mako Mania, Raiders of the Lost Shark. We're getting more air jaws. We're getting Florida shark, which I'm excited about, and we're getting cocaine sharks and more. So those are just some of the names for some of the episodes this year.
We've gone off the rails.
No, but this is
I'm
these ones are all good though. Cocaine sharks, that's a real thing. Remember they dropped all well, it's probably not a real thing, but you know what I mean.
So it's like, are we just doing like all cocaine
I
animal
was about
movies
to
now?
say,
We have
it's like,
cocaine bear,
what animal can
cocaine
we throw
shark.
in with doing cocaine? Like this animal eats
But the
I want to see
cocaine bear
cocaine
thing was
sloths.
real.
All
I
right,
was gonna say like cocaine raccoons or something like that. Could you imagine?
That would just be Rocket.
Cocaine badgers.
you don't need cocaine raccoons. You have rabies. All right, that's what that
That's all. It's true. So,
But no, there was like
Oh,
they
man.
dropped or found a bunch of cocaine in the ocean, and they're like the next cocaine animal movie is writing itself.
we got Sharknado. Imagine Sharknado, but the sharks are on coke.
Dun dun dun.
Profit.
Narcos meets
Profit.
Sharknado.
I mean,
Narcos, Narcos, Sharknado.
That's true. Let's go around the room. Final thoughts. Charlie, let's start with you, man. Final thoughts, and then we like to give a rating on this show. New, it's out of cigars. We like to give out of 5 cigars. What would you rate this movie?
ooh, cigars. Okay. Before I get into the cigars thing, um, yeah, this movie was awful. Watching it again, it was honestly like I had so much fun watching it again and just talking about it today too. But oh my god, it was so bad. It just goes to show you like the difference between a great director handling a movie that was a production nightmare too, by the way. Like Jaws 1 was an absolute production nightmare. They thought it was going to be a flop, ends up being one of the biggest movies of the year. Was nominated for 4
Cult
Academy
classic
Awards,
of a
ended up winning
lifetime.
3 for sound. Yeah, sound mixing, editing, and I think it was original score. It just said my connection's unstable. How am I doing?
You're good.
Good. All right, cool. But yeah, it just goes to show you what a movie like this can do with the right people involved. So with John Williams, Spielberg, um, all of these people, especially like the cast and crew that were developing the sound editing and the mixing, or and the editing too, post production, you can just see like there was something there for them to do, but the vision on this one was so bad. And if you want to just look at one thing to know what you are in for, just look at the first kill in the first few minutes. All right. Look at the Chrissy kill in the beginning of the first Jaws. It's iconic. It's one of the best scenes in cinema history. And in this one, I literally thought the divers were doing ballet underwater. I was like, what the hell is going on? They're just twisting around, doing nothing. And I'm like, what was
They're
that?
diving, man.
I don't know what they were thinking, but it was awful. So for that, oh my god, can I give it a half a cigar? Like
you can give it. This is your rating. You can give it however many you want.
Half a cigar. This like I would get 2 puffs in and toss this and pretend like I smoked the thing. All right, like when I was in high school and trying to first smoke a cigar because I thought I was going to get sick, and I probably did.
Oh, I spit the first time I tried a cigarette. I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Everybody coughs, chokes, dies. Lauren, final thoughts. How many cigars?
I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5 because it is enjoyable because it's bad. And it's got sharks, and I like sharks. And it's fun to be like, hey, that's Florida. But no, I mean, I'm not gonna watch it again for another 20 years.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. I easily agree. This movie isn't great by any means. I can't even say it was necessarily enjoyable. Most, you know me, I'm the number one. I love awful, quote unquote, horror movies, whatever it is, B-rated movies. This movie for me was a 1 cigar. It's
Damn.
barely got anything because the kills are so anticlimactic. They're so almost even few and far between. There's no suspense, no build up. So it's almost like I'm not invested in any of these characters other than Brody, who you don't even get a lot of time with. And so for me, there's just a lot missing. It's no Dark Knight. Christopher Nolan was not around to resurrect cinema for this one. And so yeah, it's a 1 cigar for me. And
I just like seeing the underwater stuff though, and seeing the beaches and seeing the sailing.
It is cool. It is cool. It's one of those like, oh, I was there kind of things. And
made me want to go to the beach, made me want to go swimming.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. Well, as we wrap up, Charlie, thank you for coming on. Definitely got to get you on some more because anytime we talk cinematic experiences, especially
Beetlejuice,
the movies that have made us, let us not go 2 years in between. And we might have some big things coming soon. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, Hops Geek News. That's where you're going to find all your podcasts, all that good stuff. The final portion of the show from my end was sponsored by Poke the Bear from Night Shift Brewing out of Massachusetts. I kept it local, of course. And I really actually chose this one because Charlie and I used to go to Bruins games all the time together. And that's like what I associate some really good memories with is us two going to Bruins playoff games, going to Bruins games, period. I had to shout it out on this podcast. So thank you for that. Catch us next time. make sure you tune in. Probably Charlie's going to come back for some Beetlejuice or whatever it may be. Movies that made us series. Thanks for hanging out. Cheers.